The Los Angeles Rams and Seattle Seahawks battle for the NFC West division title and a spot in the playoff comes down to Week 18, kind of. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we are going to break down this matchup here between the Seahawks and the Rams. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and tackle that bell to get notified when new videos come out. And while you're at it, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win this game and why. Ryan, as I said, kind of like this is like a win and you're in type situation. The Rams still like have a slight edge just because of all the tiebreakers. It's like absolutely wild, going all the way down the strength of victory if the Seahawks win. We're recording this before the game is scheduled, but this probably will, no matter what, be a Saturday night game, I feel, just because like it is essentially a kind of win and you're in type scenario. But there's some things on like what has to happen in week 17. If enough teams win for the Rams, like they'll have a higher strength of victory that can't be caught up than the Seahawks, because that's like the nearest tiebreaker that they won't have the exact same if the Seahawks win. So it's kind of wild how close this is getting. But for either team, though, Ryan, I think we could agree. Just win the game and then
Yeah.
like do what you can control. And this is going to be a phenomenal game, especially too because both these teams played some absolute stinkers in Week 17 when they needed to put on a good performance to show like, hey, we're the best. The Seahawks did not do that on Thursday Night Football against the lowly Bears. At least the Rams, their defense is Cardinals are actually, I think, decently good. I think that they could be contending for a playoff spot next year. Well, they were contending for a playoff spot this year. I think they could potentially be division favorites next year. But the Rams were able to squeak out a win, and defense played well. I will say that the defense definitely slowed down Kyler Murray and that Cardinals defense in the first half. But I want to throw it over to you here. What do you think are kind of the objectives for both these teams, especially too with Seattle? How do they try and figure this stuff out? Because they really struggled to move the ball against the Chicago Bears defense. This team seems very hot or cold, very Katy Perry-esque, because it's like some weeks it seems like they're playing really well, and some weeks it seems like it's just not working. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you disagree with that, or same thing too with
No.
Seahawks fans in the comments. But what do you think the Seahawks have to do to beat the Rams in Week 18?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest thing is I look at the weaknesses of this Rams team, and I look at that secondary. They have struggled in that secondary all season long. To me, the only reason why that defense has become serviceable is because the young pass rushers have really kind of started to pick things up. Braden Fisk, Jared Verse have had great rookie seasons for them. Byron Young in his second year has been fantastic as well. So, all in all, like that front seven, they will have to find a way to block. But I think if they can find ways to isolate JSN, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and put the pressure on their corners to play good football, play good disciplined football, and face with these wide receivers, I think that's really where they can find consistent success against this Rams team. And if I'm the Rams, I'm looking at this offensive line just salivating for the Seahawks, because they haven't really been able to block like anyone this year. And so and not to pick on your Falcons, this pass rush has gotten a lot better since their bye week later on in the year, but like early on, I still go back, they were doing a pretty decent job of getting after Geno Smith. Granted, they were maybe a quarter second too late and got a couple roughing the passer penalties, but like they were still getting pressure when they were one of the worst pass rushes in the league. Now Abraham Lucas is back. It has slightly improved, but it's still not good enough, especially against a pass rush like this Rams team. So offensively, I think Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, those guys are going to do what they do best and move the football. But I think with this Seahawks defensive front improving drastically as the season goes on, I think it's going to be really hard for Kyron Williams to come out and have an impact, or a big impact on this game, just because this team has been playing better. This offensive line for the Rams is good, not great. And I think that Mike McDonald could definitely scheme up some pressure here. I'm very curious the chess match that's going to go on between this defensive front, because Mike McDonald loves to do like replacement blitzes, overload blitzes, and really kind of mix things up and put pressure on quarterbacks to be able to decipher who's coming on this blitz and who's not. And Matt Stafford is one of the best in the league at currently deciphering those defensive looks. And so I'm really curious to see how that chess match looks as this matchup goes on.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's going to be a very interesting game overall because, to your point, it's like the strengths of the Rams. I think like attack maybe some of the weaknesses of the Seahawks, and then vice versa as well.
Mhm.
So like uh, Seahawks offensive line is a big weak link for them. 30th in sacks on the year. 29th in sacks allowed on the year with 52. And so I think one of the strengths of this Rams defense now, and they've been doing a lot through the draft, and we saw tonight I thought they played well getting after Kyler Murray, but like Jared Verse and company, they're getting after that offensive line and getting after the quarterback. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on there. But to your point, though, Rams secondary, they have been struggling. That's going to be a weakness for them, and they're going to be going up against DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba is having a phenomenal sophomore campaign. He's honestly doing so good. Like, the Seahawks might cut Tyler Lockett this offseason because, like, hey, we can save cap
Well,
space and we don't
he's
need
also a
like,
cap casualty.
yeah. So it's like that's how good Jackson Ninjigba has been playing, and that was probably the plan all along. I'm probably 2 years behind, but that's not new at all. But I feel that that Jason has been playing so well that, and I think he can really help pick apart this Rams secondary, kind of be a band aid that Geno Smith can really lean on. But on the same time, though, too, for the Seahawks team, they'll be without Kenneth Walker. He's on season-ending IR, and so they'll be going out with one of their other better playmakers as well. Now, Zach Charbonnet is a good running back, but kind of going back to my initial point, though, how is this Seahawks offensive line going to do, and fare against this Rams offense? They are 30th when it comes to rushing yards per game at 93.81. And if we go back and look, now they did have 122 against Chicago. They had 59 against Minnesota, 80 against Green Bay, 176 against Arizona, which is good. But then since they're by the three prior games before that Arizona performance, which was Zach Charbonnet, to be fair, 3 games under 100 yards. So what type of rushing offense are we going to see from Seattle? Are the Rams not going to allow them to get a rushing offense at all, make them very one-dimensional? But on the flip side, though, too, Rams fans I'm sure there's going to be comments as well that like offensive line has gotten healthier, and they have gotten healthier as well from the beginning of the year. But we've also seen the Seahawks defensive line get healthier as well,
Mhm.
and I think that they've been improving also. So how is that matchup going to do now that both sides are kind of at full strength? Maybe not fully at full strength. Let me know in the comments. But then at the same time, though, too, you're still going to have Reek Woolen going up against Buka Nakua and Cooper
Mhm.
Kupp, and have Devin Witherspoon as well. And who the linebacker that they traded for as well has been playing really well. Also, I apologize that I'm blanking on it. Who
It is escaping me at the
the
moment.
guy from Tennessee, Ernest Jones the fourth. I'm pretty sure that's him. Yes, yes. Da, 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 da. See all recent games previously with Tennessee. Yeah, so Ernest Jones been playing well. I just want to make sure that that was the guy because he's been piling up a lot of stats here as well. A lot of solo tackles, helping a lot, and just the defense as a whole. And so I think
Yeah.
that's going to be a new addition. Even though he did play against the Rams when they played earlier, but to me, I think that the biggest thing, and even too when I look at this as well, I, I think everything that we said is very fair. I think to me, the X factor is going to be Geno Smith. If we go back and look at this game that they played earlier on, Seahawks should have won this game, but Geno Smith threw several interceptions in the red zone, just poor throws. Can he rise to the occasion, just kind of like how we've seen Matt Stafford do uh, throughout his career? Is Geno Smith's time, to take the Seahawks back to the playoffs? Is he going to do it? And that I think is going to be the X factor here. I don't know if he is. I just don't know if he's going to be able to do that. I think the Rams team in general is just, I think, too good overall. I think he's going to make some mistakes that Seahawks not going to be able to come back from. And that's why, for me, I think I'm going to go with the more experienced veteran quarterback who's been there before. I think it's had a more consistent season overall than with Geno Smith. As kind of, as I've said, it's not even just Geno Smith has played it consistently, but also too has this entire Seahawks team as well. And I think this Rams team is just going to take them over the top. And so I'm going to go with the Rams here in this victory.
Okay. So you're up in our season long competition. I will take the Seahawks in this matchup. For a couple reasons. One, I want to see as much anarchy and chaos
Yeah.
in this playoff seeding process that I can. So having both of these teams at 10-7 makes that a whole lot more interesting because we have to go to like the nth tiebreaker to figure out who is in and who is not. But I also feel like this is a really big deciding game for Geno Smith and his future as a Seattle Seahawk. I think you look at his time there. He was, I believe, the comeback player of the year 2 years ago.
Hmm.
And then last year he played 14 games and unfortunately got hurt. But I feel like a lot of people in Seattle have kind of viewed him as like the savior. And I think this could be a very telling performance. If he comes out and just has a bad game, I think that would kind of be the end of the Geno Smith era in Seattle. I think that would force them to maybe have to go look at another option for a quarterback that can come in and get the job done. Because I still think that they've had a good year. Mike McDonald, I think this defense is only going to improve. And I do not think that he's the issue with this offense. But if he comes out and he's the reason that they lose this game specifically, I feel like that would just be a very harsh look on him. I'm curious on Seahawks fans as a whole. I know that Seahawks fans really like him. I while I do like him, I feel like and really through no fault of his own, he is an average quarterback. And I feel like to be successful in this league, you have to have a top tier quarterback to consistently win and consistently make the playoffs.
Yeah. Like so one of the things, this is why you all should subscribe, because we're going to break down the Seahawks free agency and their offseason and kind of some of the moves they can make. I think Geno will be the quarterback for Seattle next year,
I'm not saying
kind
that
of by force.
specifically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think he will be the quarterback next year, but he's not the quarterback of the future. Like this team now has a I don't want to say a lame duck quarterback because that I don't think that's quite the right term, but he's no like there is no real future of playoffs and potential Super Bowl berths anymore with Geno Smith in
I see what
Seattle.
you're saying now. It's so like the best Geno will probably ever do is like take him to the wild card.
Yeah, yeah.
That might be
Yeah.
it, and I think that's fair. Like this is probably as far as he can take him. He had a great year in 2022 when they went to the wild card and lost to San Francisco. They lost to San Francisco 3 times that year, and it just seems like this
Mhm.
is just going to be kind of his realm. And he is just, if you're looking ranking quarterbacks 1 through 32, he's an average quarterback. I mean, some people might put him 13th, some people might put him 20th, but it's like I think there's several quarterbacks that are very equivalent to him in that range. Kyler Murray, I think, is in that range. I think Tua is in that range. Brock Purdy might be in that range. Jared Goff, I think, is also in that range as well. And it's like
Baker
not really,
Mayfield.
yeah, it's not really to any fault of their own, but it's like there are so many good quarterbacks up top. I feel, and
Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert,
Joe
like
Burrow, Lamar
y-
Jackson,
yeah,
uh,
Jalen
Jalen Hurts.
Hurts.
You can make an argument even to throw Matt Stafford up there as well, just
Yeah.
because of like what he can do for the team. He's probably is maybe slightly outside the top 10. I'm just saying you can make an argument for it. But if you're Seahawks fans, like this is kind of my point. Would you rather have Geno Smith or Matt Stafford? Like I would feel personally,
I
I
I
would rather
I
have
will ask
Matt
them
Stafford.
to answer that as objectively as possible. I tried that route with Baker and the Bucks fans with Justin Herbert because I feel like 31 other NFL fans, if you took a fan from each team, would be like Justin Herbert is a much better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. But
Yeah.
the loyalty to Baker Mayfield in Tampa was
Well, and
very thorough.
and I would say this though too is it's like to that argument, what has Justin Herbert delivered to the Chargers that Baker Mayfield hasn't delivered to the Bucks? And to me, I would say go look at Matt Stafford's career and then go look at Geno Smith's career and what they've accomplished. And
Yeah.
even now even to this game in this game, we might see who the better quarterback is. And so that's why to me, I think Matt Stafford is just a better quarterback in general. But I'm objective as you could. Well, at least I try to be objective. Maybe I'm not, but uh, I'm a Falcons fan, so I got no. I'll take either quarterback as of right now over Kirk Cousins. I'm excited for Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm
And
excited
I,
to see what
I
next
I
year.
exclude like rookies and like second year guys from these debates because like obviously the potential for Michael Penix, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, like all of those guys,
Yeah,
the potential is immense. We just don't know what they're going to quite amount to yet. Um, so
yeah,
it,
yeah. It's all subjective on that ranking list. I just think it. to your point, this is going to be a telling game, I think, for Geno Smith. If he can get them to win the division, especially too in this year where it does seem like there's a changing of the guard. Like San Francisco is like, what's going to happen with San Francisco? Some people are saying Kyle Shanahan should be fired. Christian McCaffrey's getting older. Brock, they're going to have to start breaking the gang up because they're going to have to start paying Brock
Yeah.
Purdy here soon. Well, I guess not have to. Arizona seems to be playing better as well. Like not this year, but I think next year they'll be in the playoffs. They're making the right moves. That defense is getting better. The Rams, Matt Stafford is getting older, as we were just talking about. So to your point, though, this is kind of a key moment for Geno Smith because it's not like this team, and correct me if I'm wrong, Seahawks fans, it's not like this team is I feel super old. I feel like DK Metcalf is still kind of in his prime, or maybe just on the back end of his prime. JSN is working up into his prime as well. I think there's still improvements they can bring onto this offensive line. You got a great running back room. This defense should be really good with the secondary talent that they brought in. I think they can address the trenches on that side as well. I think like this team could also be kind of going into that like their premier level of playing, but do they have the right quarterback? And to your point, I think this is going to be a big telling game for them.
Well, and I agree with that. They to me, so like I think you look, they have some older guys, like I believe Leonard Williams, an older guy, but Byron Murphy is there to kind of take his spot. Boye
Exactly.
Mafi's is a second or third year edge rusher. Devon Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen, like they have these young guys with some veteran leadership that are kind of growing into these roles. And to me, I think this would be a great situation for a young quarterback to come into. But if they're not in position to take a young quarterback, because Geno Smith has led them to be picking in the late 20s, I think then that's going to be a different conversation than if like they lose this game, they just miss out, and like they're at like pick 15 or 16, and Jalen Milroe is there on the board this year. Like there's a lot of different alternatives. I think that the Seahawks could go with the quarterback position specifically, because they're going to have guys being paid at other places where they could definitely afford to have a quarterback on a rookie contract that can come in and be kind of a young playmaker for them. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm excited for this game. I'm taking the Seahawks. You're taking the Rams. Let's go ahead. Let's wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Seattle Seahawks? Will it be the Los Angeles Rams? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.